Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life Coach University, Let's Coach 2023. Today is Thursday, and this is Liz Cresci, the Strategic Growth Coach, welcoming you to our session. And if you're familiar with us, we are brought to you by Life Coach University. Check us out at lifecoachuniversity.com. So many exciting sessions and other things to dive into over there. And we bring this to you, so hopefully we can help you through whatever it is that you're looking to talk about. So feel free to join in the conversation. Use the Q&A box. I'll try and keep my eye on that as we go. And super happy to be here. So let's get started. Again, Liz Cresci, Strategic Growth Coach. And today I thought we would dive into something that's been plaguing me this week. And that is when things start to feel a little chaotic, or you feel like something has slipped through your fingers and you just are not quite sure what to do. First thing you do is stop, right? Stop, kind of consider what's going on, check what's going on around you, and then write it down. I find that writing it down really helps to alleviate some of the emotion. And when you leave something in your head, it just kind of grows and grows and it starts to grow legs, basically. And so when you can write it down and remove yourself kind of one step away from it, you can become much more logical and see it for what it is. And then from there, you can move forward. And in doing that, so many of us feel like when things get overwhelming, what we want to do is just put our head in the sand or put it down, hoping that maybe it will go away. And then we get distracted by something else. And then it gets a little bit bigger. And then it pops up again. And then after it pops up again, we consider it. It starts to make our hearts race, or it starts to affect us in some way and give us a bit of anxiety. And so we put it down and we get distracted. And as you can see this cycle, and it just gets bigger, it snowballs bigger and bigger and bigger, like a snowball rolling down a mountain, right? So when we hit that time, first of all, I just want to tell you, it's okay. Right? We all do these things, but it's the recognizing it and the awareness is where you start. And then you have to accept where you are. So often I see that, and I'm guilty. People I know are guilty. I think everybody out there has the moments where they don't want to accept something about whatever's happening in the moment, whether that's in their business or in their life or in in their household, or with a child, or with a friend, or with a parent, or their spouse, or whatever it is. They don't want to accept it. So they constantly look for solutions as an alternative, which is great. And I'm not saying not to do that, because that's the next step. But if you don't acknowledge where it is and just accept that the fact is the fact. I'm not saying that you condone it. I'm not saying that you agree with it, but just accept it. It takes that emotion away, and it takes the power out of it to continually be there. And then it gives you a choice in the moment. You can choose to leave things going in a direction that they're headed, if that works for you. And that's fine, even if nobody else agrees with it, as long as it works for you, right? Or you can choose to change something. And you can choose how to do that, right? That's the beauty of our lives, is coming from the culture, certainly that I come from. I live in the United States, Western culture for the most part. And, I'm assuming much of the world, except those places that I've heard about, that politically do not allow their people to have choice, that's the beauty of it, right? We get to be able to choose things. So let's exercise those choices. And by having the awareness, by accepting what you're accepting, your situation the way it is, right? Can't put toothpaste back in a tube. You're not going to go back and change things from that have been said or that have been done or that weren't done, right? I had a conversation with one of my kids, and that one was never loving school when they were there. And they said today, oh, I wish I had done things a little bit differently. And it made me chuckle, right? Because as a parent who doesn't want to hear that, that they're coming into their own and starting to realize things, right? But that's great to have that realization that you wished something would have been different. That's fine. But take it the next step and finish that thought, right? You wish that you would have done things a little differently. You wish that you would have put more time into school, or that you'd taken a different path, or that you planned better for your business, or you planned better for that party, or you took more time with your children, or whatever that is. You took more time for yourself. You wished it would have been that way. So take it the next step and be like, you know what? It wasn't. Okay, it wasn't. Accept it, own it. There's empowerment in owning that. You don't have to like it, but own it. At the time, understand that you made the best decision that you could make based on the information you had, on who you thought you were going to be, or what it was that was happening in the moment, and just accept it. And now decide, is it working for you or is it not working for you? And if it's not working for you, then make the choice. I want to change this. Now you have a whole range of choices open to you. How do you want to change it? The reason this is important is if you don't take the acceptance step first, you'll always be chasing the when then. Acceptance does this weird thing to us individually, and it sort of calms the waters or builds up the foundation. It takes that feeling of angst and loss and what's the word that I'm looking for? I guess disappointment out of it, right? Because if you accept, then it kind of goes away, right? Because you're like, okay, yes, this is where it is. Whatever happened before. I can't change that. I need to know exactly where I am in the moment. And from here on out, I'm going to be more intentional. I'm going to make a purposeful choice. And that is such an amazing step towards growth, right? So I wanted to share today also, and feel free to jump into the conversation if you have something on your mind that's completely different. Happy to talk about it. Or if you've experienced anything like this, or if you you have anything to add or questions, please jump in. So today I was having a bit of a moment, if you will. So I have a business, and I've been waiting for somebody else, my husband actually, who was working that business with me, to step up to what I thought he was going to do, right? I was afraid to steamroller over him by just coming in and being like, yep, this is what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it, and you just work for me. And I didn't have that conversation. And you know what's interesting is it's all things I would do with another. If I was working with you on your business and you had your spouse working in that business, these are things I would tell you. But as they say, the cobbler's kids have no shoes, which means that you spend more time focusing outward than on what's right in front of you. And so I didn't take those steps. And now we're years into the business. And while on some metrics, the business is doing great, right? We've significantly increased the value of the business and it's making money and holding its own. But it's not where it could be. It's not where, and I use the S word, should be, according to me. I believe that this business could be further along if we were doing certain things that aren't being done. And I realize that I've basically been fighting myself because I haven't been going with what my intuition tells me I need to do, with my knowledge tells me I need to do, because I was afraid of hurting somebody's feelings or of not having that put it all on the table conversation so that we all know where we are and are on the same page. And I feel like that's happened in other places, certainly in my life and other people I know and people I've coached. So I just want to bring awareness that it's not, if you're involved in something like this where you're holding yourself back, I'm going to invite you to have those conversations. You know, they may feel a little challenging to some at this point, but that's what being true to yourself is, right? I'm not saying have a knockdown, drag out argument with somebody. I'm saying, hey, can we have a conversation around, some things to do with the business? Let's say I'll use myself as an example, right? To sit down with my husband and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I realize that I've not taken the steps that I know I need to have taken. And the reason is that I was afraid that you might think I was somehow telling you what to do all the time or steamrollering over you. And I'd like to have a conversation around that, because let's think about together what our objectives are for this and how can we make that happen. And I think a lot of times when you feel like you have difficulty with someone, or when you have a challenging relationship, either at work or in business or with one of your friends, I think it's because you don't feel like you're being heard. And on the other side, I feel like you don't feel like you're standing up for yourself. At least that's me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? So being my authentic me and showing up with the knowledge that I have, isn't that my responsibility? And not to put it solely on somebody else, but to find out what's the outcome that we both together would like to have, and how can we both bring our talents to this to make it move forward. And it's funny because that's something that I would do with a client in the same situation, and I just kick myself because hello, I should be my own best client, no? So anyway, that was my conversation in my head. Well, a little bit in my head and a little bit with my husband the other day. So let's see. I wake up every morning regretting a DIY decision on my house build. I don't understand why it bothers me so much. I wish I could just get past it. Wow, that's true. And when you say, a DIY decision, does that mean that it was something that you decided to do all on your own versus calling someone when you were building your home, or was you built your entire house? And you know what? It probably, just taking a stab in the dark here, based on what you said, the fact that it doesn't sit well with you and that it bothers you is probably because you're having an internal conflict. And when we're not congruent with ourselves or in alignment with our intuition or our values, and we do something contrary to that, we're going to have that kind of unsettled feeling. And what that means is that you probably knew to do something different, and you chose for whatever reason was the best reason at the time, and somehow you misaligned with a value of yours. And, I think that happens to us a lot, and that's part of the awareness. But you know what? Here's where the acceptance comes in. So you can lay it out. And sometimes, again, I find that writing it down, and I'm writing it down with my hand versus typing, even though I seem to type faster than I can write. There's something in the exercise from your brain to your hand to the paper, back to your eyes, that helps sort of alleviate some of that uncertainty and that emotion, because it just shows up there black and white, right? Or blue and, whatever. But having that and being able to look at it, it kind of one step removes you so that you can then be more objective about it. And you know what? Okay. Like, maybe I shouldn't have done the plumbing myself in my home. Probably wasn't a great idea since I'm not a licensed plumber. Okay. Well, where is it now? What are we dealing with? Why does this, why is this such a problem? If it's causing you a problem, then you have to decide what your choices are, right? Choice one, you can leave it as it is. Choice two, perhaps you hire someone to come in and redo the entire thing. Maybe choice three is have someone come in and evaluate what needs to be done, and then make your choice from there. There is nothing that's permanent in this world besides death and taxes, right? You can always assess where you are, accept whatever the facts are in that moment, and make a choice. That choice could be to do nothing. No choice is a choice, right? But it's not a great choice. That's default. So if you want to grow and you want to move forward in whatever that is, understand where you are, accept the starting point. Know what's brought you here and just accept where it is. It doesn't matter how you got there. The fact is you're there. You can't go from one place to another until you know from where you're starting. It's like, as we've talked before, it's like, creating a road trip. If you don't know where you're starting from, how do you plan your road trip? You get in the car and you could drive around in circles all day, but you can't get from here to there unless you know where you are starting from. And then you make choices along the way. And that's the beauty. That's the empowerment, are actually choices that we make, right? In any moment, that choice for you is yours. If someone else makes that choice and you allow it to happen, that's your choice in the moment. That's okay. We judge ourselves really harshly, and we come down on ourselves for things we would never come down on a friend for. We would show compassion. We would show some support and some love. Why can't we do that for ourselves? If you make a mistake, okay, no problem, but at least you're moving forward and you can always recover, right? It might not look like you thought it would look, but that might be exactly where you need to be, right? Being open, being authentically you, standing up for that gut feeling that you have, listening to your intuition and moving yourself forward and honoring that so that you can make choices. I hope that makes sense. We could go on and on all day about this, because I'm really passionate about the fact that we don't, as people, and I'm saying we in general, and I very much mean myself as well, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to have choice a lot of times. putting your head in the sand is a bad choice. It might feel okay in the moment because it avoids unnecessary, not unnecessary, it avoids uncomfortable feelings or interactions or having to make big decisions. But you know what? If you don't look at it, you're going to end up with problems. What happens when you're driving your car and it starts to make a noise? If you ignore it long enough, you might not have a car to drive. If you ignore it long enough, it maybe will cost you 10 times what it would cost you if you'd addressed it when you first heard the noise, right? Same thing in life. If you a little bit burn your dinner, you don't leave it on the stove to continue burning. You might be able to salvage something when you first notice it, right? So these are things that we need to stop and kind of bring into the other aspects of our lives as well. And I can tell you that after having a conversation with my own coach today, it's sometimes the power in those conversations is where it's at, because she didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, but she gave me that platform to bring what was challenging me in the moment and step back and look at it objectively. And I walked away from that conversation feeling 180 degrees different and feeling way more empowered because I had a plan and I knew what I was going to do. So coaching and having those coach-like conversations, they are so important to help us get out of our head and see things realistically. And it happens to everyone, right? And that's what makes it so powerful. That's why, athletic coaches are so powerful. I mean, look at football, right? Or soccer, however you want to say it. A soccer coach, a football coach, the players, they watch the players play. The players already know what they're doing. In fact, they may have had more play time than the coaches ever had. But by having that external perspective, that coach can come and, and watch the player for specifics, especially if the player said, hey, I'm not getting this, or the coach notices that they're not shooting on goal as much as others, or they're not defending in the same way, or whatever. That coach can stand back and watch what's going on in the context of the whole picture and help that player become better. That's what coaches in life coaches do, or business coaches do. It's the same thing. We all need that. And sometimes having that in an uninterested third party, not your significant other, not your best friend, not your son, not your mother, they have an agenda for you because they know, like, and love you. And having that disinterested third party, a coach, can be super helpful because they can be much more objective and look at the situation that's happening in the moment in juxtaposition to you, the person, and what's important for you, and help you and guide you through that. So I think that's important. My wife says I'm too quick and impulsive when making big life decisions. I can accept whatever happens, but she seems to want to know exactly what's going to happen. Should I slow down and consider all the what ifs? Oh, super good question. So I just want to address, and no disrespect, your wife says you're too quick and impulsive when making big life decisions. Is that true? Do you feel that you're too quick and impulsive? And you can accept whatever happens, but she wants to know exactly what's going to happen. And that's a question. She likes certainty, obviously. And life doesn't always have certainty. So perhaps it's talking her through as you are making the decision, right? Help her to understand what the outcome is that you're seeking by making the decisions. The what ifs, they could happen, right? But you can spend all day worrying about and talking about what ifs. When you make a decision, oftentimes we might not even be aware that we are assessing potential consequences. And if it's a really big life decision and one that's going to affect her, perhaps you do want to sit down with her and have that conversation to say, here's what I'm looking to get out of this decision, and here's why I'm going to make this. What are your concerns? Because she obviously has some concerns, and she sounds to me like somebody that may be much more methodical and have a different thinking approach than you do. It's not right, it's not wrong, it just is, right? So having that dialogue and honoring those conversations with her will help put her at ease, because she may not be used to making decisions as quickly as you do. And she may like to juggle and kind of touch and feel all the potential outcomes and just not be confident in a quick decision. Perfectly okay. But by being able to talk her through your thought process a few times and help her understand why you're making the decisions you are before making the decision, will go a long way to help her feel comfortable in your process as well. And maybe you'll get to learn a little bit more about hers and why she gets so worried about that. Because she obviously has, we all start out as a clean slate. So as we get older and we have more experiences, we tend to go, become a little bit more regimented in one way. And it's usually due to the fact that maybe every time she made an impulsive decision, it didn't work out right, or something along those lines. So helping her to understand that you do consider her in those, and that here's why you make the decisions the way you're making them, would be super helpful to her. So I think that's great. Hopefully that helps. Well, folks, we are coming to the end of our time. I appreciate you guys. I hope that, my experience today kind of brought a little additional thought process to you. And I look forward to seeing you again next week at this time. Again, please check out lifecoachuniversity.com. Share with people that who you think might be able to be, who might find it helpful, be able to be helped or benefit from coming to one of our sessions. We have a lot of great PIF talks and Pay It Forward talks, and we have our Let's Coach and a lot of other things. So again, lifecoachuniversity.com. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye.